Games Workshop announced recently the release of some fantastic new scenery to go with Armageddon. Things like the Mount Victoria ruins, the galvanic network and capacitor clusters. Pre-painted, probably pretty expensive, or unassembled as part of a starter kit. But what if there is an alternative, and what if this piece of 30-year-old terrain, the Imperial Firebase made out of plastic and cardboard, is actually a cost-effective alternative for you? Hello, welcome to Keep It, the home of millennials with mortgage payments and hidden plastic addictions. The 90s were colourful when it came to Warhammer 40,000. Heavy metal, fantastic iconic scenery, including the Imperial Firebase, which was released alongside the Imperial Battle Bunker, the Imperial Guard Command Tower, the Imperial Bastion. They would have been features of White Dwarf pages and dioramas that you saw back then, and they were achievable for £20 to £30. 15 minutes, bit of Pritt stick, you had a battle-ready piece of scenery that you could build an entire campaign around. And it got me to thinking, with the release of the new introductory set and its modern 2026 cardboard scenery, can these 90s kits still do a job? Can they still look the part with the slightly enhanced minis that we have in the modern day? And should you look in the loft to see if you can dig yours out, or maybe even go on eBay? And is it cost effective? So let's put this one together, let's see what it looks like, and then let's talk 90s scenery. So, front of the box, you got those classic second edition Blood Angels facing off against what looked like High Fleet Behemoth Tyranids, Tech Marine Sergeant, Land Speeder. On the back there, you got the Firebase and all of its assembled glory and a little bit of information about the piece of kit itself. But inside the box, you've got this pamphlet which talks about the Firebase and it being based off a standard template construct, modular prefabricated parts that can be transported inside dropships and Thunderhawk gunships. So they really leaned hard into this kind of fabricated, modular, multi-use building that can be dropped down at short notice and assembled. Inside, you've got the actual assembly instructions, which I'll ignore. This is relatively straightforward to put these together, but it's there if you need it. So you see the bulk of the set is these cardboard sheets, which are pre-printed. I've bent mine. You can see it's probably been stood on. I mean, this is literally 30 years old and it's mine. Last time I touched this was probably when I was about 11 or something. A lot of it is these plastic bulkheads which give it the rigidity. So they were also released in the Necromunda kits, and they allow you to hold this all together in a really nice rigid way, but also give some verticality as well because they kind of snap together. So you'll see I'm holding the front of it together. Just slide the cardboard into the bulkhead, which has channels for it. And straight away, you're getting a much more rigid front door surface there. So we're just putting the second bit on, slide it in, and away you go. And then as we move forward through it, you've got the kind of the rest of the cardboard shielding and armor plating for the building itself. You could use some glue on this if you wanted. You'll see there's a little tab on this bit, which I just ignore. I'm just going to slot it in, and it's good enough for a battle, and it means you can store it away. The bulkheads have these little sort of feet or you know, well, I don't know what you want to call them, tabs that hold everything together, and like I said, give you a bit more verticality. Some multiple platforms here. You can see the Necromunda vibe, and a lot of this is directly out of Necromunda as well. What we're assembling here is a side tower with a kind of an observation deck. The good thing about this is because it's all modular, you can actually change the configuration of the Firebase itself. You don't have to follow the guide that they've got here. It's all pretty straightforward to kind of shift it around and move it around. Observation deck goes on, and there's the two towers pretty much finished. Onto the main bulk then, we're going to slide this side bulkhead, bunker, whatever you want to call it, onto the side. I use a bit of Pritt stick just to hold it together, and then you can slot in the barrier for the Marines to hide behind here. And then start the final assembly. So a bit more bulkheadage there on the side to make a final wall. We'll do the same on the back to provide a front door or a back door and a back wall for the Firebase itself. And the final bit is just this armored walkway around the back of the final tower. You'll see I'm using a little bit of glue here actually on this one just to hold it together and keep it vertical. And apart from shoving in a barrier, that is pretty much it. I think the whole thing took me about 10 minutes. I've speeded up for this video. But that's it, job done really. So in the spring of 1996, Games Workshop gave the Firebase a bit of a feature in White Dwarf. In issue 195, in Strongholds of the Emperor, they talk through some mini scenarios, how to use your brand new piece of scenery. Things like No Man's Land, where you've got to capture and hold the building. So if the Imperium get to hold it for a turn, they get to land reinforcements. If the enemy get to hold it for a turn, they destroy the landing pad and they clean up the inferior Imperium force. Things like Beachhead, where it's a newly constructed but not finished defensive position on a Xenos planet, and it gets attacked by wave after wave of enemies. A bit like that scene in Starship Troopers from around the same time where they get overrun by the bugs. Or things like Virus, where the defensive force are infected with this horrible gene stealer DNA virus and have to be eliminated by an attacking force to prevent an outbreak. So maybe if you've got 2 Space Marine armies, that's a cool one for you. There are loads of ideas in here. They're all quite fun, actually. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to maybe play one of these out. I'm sure I can persuade my son to go to battle over the Imperial Firebase and we could film and feature it. So when it comes to 1996 versus 2026 and your options, yes, there's that highly expensive Armageddon stuff. Yes, there is retro stuff like the Imperial Firebase. But in between, you've got things like the Battlezone Fronteris Nachmund kit. Now, whilst you can't buy this from scratch anymore, it is on eBay for about £150, but you can still buy new some component parts, including this, the Battlezone Fronteris landing pad, which I think is the spiritual successor to the Imperial Firebase. Now, when it arrives, it's going to look like this. It's going to be grey, you're going to have to assemble it, you're going to have to paint it in case you maybe get lucky and you pick a pre-assembled one up. If that floats your boat, brilliant. I think it's a great piece of kit, actually. It could look quite nice as a centerpiece and you can play out all of those old scenarios I just talked through. But, you know, whether you want to invest that time and money and cost in assembling something and painting it is entirely up to you. If you've got one of these retro sets, like the Firebase in the Loft, then my advice is use it. I think they still look great. They're easy to put together. Yes, they're not as perfect as the new Armageddon ones, but they still do a great job. If you wanted to buy one new, they're not going to be any cheaper than the Armageddon stuff. I'm just going to, full disclosure, you go on eBay, try and get a Firebase right now or an Imperial Bastion, it's going to cost you 100, 150 quid. How you build up your battlefield is ultimately your call. I love the fact that I've managed to keep this old piece of kit. It's definitely going to feature in battles that we have at home. And yeah, over to you, whether you think it stands up to 2026 standards. But as you can see here, where I finished mine, I put some Phobos Marines on it, and it's maybe a scout force on a new planet, and they're looking to defend the area until they can get some reinforcements, like in that No Man's Land scenario I talked about before. So thank you for reviewing the Imperial Firebase. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've got some more coming up soon, including the assembly of the Command HQ tanks, and particularly the Land Raider Excelsior, which is a Warhammer World exclusive. I'm also going to be looking at that new introductory set with my son. We're going to open it up, assemble the models, give them a paint, and work through some of those starter battles. If you like what you see, please give me a like. If you're not subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment. It all fuels the growth of the channel and really gives me a boost. I've been loving the feedback so far. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.